People abandoned this dog twice. Not because he was aggressive, not because he was sick, but because he was different. He made strange sounds that freaked people out. So they left him in a cage, alone, forgotten. And honestly, that makes me furious. Because what they didn't realize, what nobody realized, was that this dog was trying to communicate. He wasn't barking, he was talking. And the world had no idea what they were throwing away. This is Dennis's story, the dog who spoke and the person who finally listened. Abandoned twice, no explanation, just left. Dennis sat in that cage for weeks, alone, forgotten, while other dogs wagged their tails and jumped with excitement when people passed by. Dennis just sat there, quiet, his eyes dull, like he'd given up hoping. What was going through his mind during those long, silent hours? Did he wonder what he'd done wrong? Did he replay memories of families who'd held him close, only to let him go? He was scruffy, small, not the kind of dog people noticed. His fur was matted, his frame a little thin. When potential adopters walked past, they'd glance at him and keep moving. Puppies got all the attention. Bright-eyed, energetic, adorable. But Dennis? He was just another forgotten face in a crowded shelter. People didn't see what he had to offer. They saw a dog who didn't bark much, didn't play, didn't seem worth it. And every day that passed, his chances got slimmer. Other dogs found homes within days. Younger dogs, prettier dogs. But Dennis just sat there, watching them leave one by one. His tail never wagged. His head stayed low. It was like he'd accepted his fate, that maybe, just maybe, nobody would ever want him. Until one rainy Thursday afternoon. That's when everything changed. But then I walked in. I'd spent weeks browsing the shelter's website, looking at profiles, trying to find the perfect match. I'd found one, a calm, quiet dog that seemed ideal. I drove there with a mix of nervousness and excitement, ready to bring him home. When I arrived, the receptionist looked at me with a sympathetic smile and said, "I'm sorry, he's already been adopted." I just stood there, stunned. I'd taken time off work, bought toys, treats, even chosen a name, and now nothing. Then I heard something. It wasn't a bark, it wasn't a whimper. It was more like a mumble, a strange rhythmic sound coming from one of the cages down the hallway. I walked over, and there he was, Dennis, scruffy little guy with bright eyes and a wagging tail, staring right at me, and he was talking. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but no, he was actually producing deliberate sounds, not just barking or whining like most dogs, but almost forming words. He looked at me, wagged his tail more vigorously, and let out a series of unusual little noises that left me completely frozen. I knelt down in front of his cage and whispered, "What are you trying to say?" He continued as if he'd been waiting for someone to listen. Something in his eyes told me this was fate. Maybe this was meant to be. I see you haven't subscribed yet, and honestly, that breaks my heart. Dennis's story is just beginning. Little did I know what was about to happen next. I asked the staff about him. "His name's Dennis," the girl said. "Yeah, he's different. He kind of talks. We're not really sure what he means, but he does it all the time." I smiled. I wanted him. But she shook her head. He was already reserved. Someone else was scheduled to adopt him in 2 weeks. My heart sank. Again. But something inside me wouldn't let it go. I asked if I could foster him in the meantime, so he wouldn't have to stay in a cage for 2 more weeks. They hesitated, warning me that I might get attached. "I know," I said, "but this isn't about me. I just don't want him to be alone." They agreed. And that choice changed my life. The first night Dennis came home with me, he wouldn't stop talking. His unique little voice filled the apartment. He'd sit at the foot of the bed, mumbling softly, as if telling me bedtime stories. In the morning, he'd greet me with what seemed like a speech, sharing his dreams or maybe his breakfast preferences. I began responding, and surprisingly, he'd answer back. It wasn't human speech, but it was meaningful. There was a rhythm to it, a feeling. He wasn't just making noise, he was expressing something real. Over the next few days, we became inseparable. Dennis would ride in the car, standing on the console between the seats, tail wagging, babbling with excitement. Whenever we approached the beach or the park, he'd chatter even more. At home, he'd sit on the couch next to me and make little commentary sounds during movies, as if he had opinions about the plot. He made me laugh every single day. And he really listened when I talked, too. By the end of the 2 weeks, I had fallen in love. The thought of returning him to the shelter and watching him leave with someone else felt unbearable. Then came the moment that changed everything. I had to make a choice: let him go or fight for him. I called the shelter. Is there any chance I could adopt him instead? They paused. Well, only if the original family agrees. So I wrote a letter. I sent photos and videos showing Dennis and me together, playing, communicating in our own special way. I tried to convey what this dog meant to me, that Dennis wasn't just a pet, but a voice I hadn't realized I needed in my life. A few days later, the shelter called. They've agreed. Dennis is yours. I broke down in tears that day. In that moment, I understood. Dennis was sent to me for a reason. This wasn't luck. This was a miracle. Dennis wasn't just a dog. He was a companion, a soul I somehow understood without needing words. From that point on, life with Dennis became extraordinary. He continued to talk to me every morning, during every car ride, and at every bedtime. He shared his joys and frustrations, making me feel like every little moment mattered. He taught me patience, presence, and the beauty of simply listening. I've never met another dog like him, and honestly, I doubt I ever will. People say dogs don't talk, but I know the truth. Dennis spoke and still speaks to me in a language deeper than words. Some would call it coincidence, but I believe he was sent to me for a reason. This wasn't luck, this was divine. Nobody wanted him, but he wanted everyone. And that's Dennis's story.